Longer rifles versus shorter rifles. This week on Mail Call Mondays. Mail Call Mondays is brought to you by Modular Driven Technologies. If you need a chassis system for your precision rifle, check out mdttac.com. I'm John McQuay with 8541 Tactical, and this is Mail Call Mondays, the show that answers your questions about precision rifles, optics, and equipment. Welcome to another Mail Call Mondays, and this Monday our question comes from Austin, and Austin asks, where, in your opinion, is the tipping point for a match rifle being not heavy enough? I've shadowed a few matches and noticed a lot of ports in confined spaces, which has me thinking about a shorter barrel and lighter stock to make those position changes smoother. With the trend of 18-plus pound rifles and max velocities, stuffing a 20-pound rifle with a 26-inch barrel in and out of obstacles appeared cumbersome. Well, Austin, that's a great question, and yes, it can be very cumbersome. Moving this thing, which is a 21-pound 6.5 Creedmoor rifle, in and out of ports, in and out of barricades, crawling through tubes with it, is much more difficult than something like a 20-inch 308 in a more hunting-oriented stock. The thing to keep in mind, though, is why the trend has gone to these behemoths over smaller, lighter weight rifles. And the big thing is the stability that you gain with these. As I said, this is a 21-pound rifle, and I still have room to put more weights in the ACC chassis here, and even more weights on the outside, should I wish to do so. Throwing in that extra weight is going to make it more difficult to move the rifle around, but it is also going to make it more stable, more resistant to recoil when I'm firing those shots. And even though I have an Area 419 Hellfire brake on the end of here, so with 6.5 Creedmoor, even with some stout loads, this thing doesn't really go anywhere. Being able to spot my impacts on longer range targets and being able to see if I miss to one side or the other, or shooting a KOIL rack, being able to see exactly where that bullet impacted on the larger plates to be able to judge the wind shift for the smaller plates really makes the difference between the points when you get to the end of the day. Now again, you get to the end of the day though, you have been throwing this thing around, so it can throw in some fatigue if your physical fitness is not up to par. So that is something very necessary. If you get into positions where you need to shoot from slung supported, if they decide to throw in stages like that, those are again situations where your physical fitness needs to be on par, and your dry firing routine has to have that in there, so you know you can sling the rifle up, and you know what your capabilities are, how small a target you can hit in that manner. So there really is a purpose on why these rifles have gone to this size and this weight. Now that's not to say if you have a 308, nice compact 308 or something, that you can't go out and shoot in tactical class and do fairly well with it. In fact, there are times when I will take a smaller, lighter rifle out and shoot a match with it, because for me, it's very enjoyable to have this little compact thing that I can throw around really quickly, get in and out of places with, but you do sacrifice performance with those. First of all, you sacrifice performance on the barrel end. Even if we're talking about a 308, which is less sensitive to barrel length than a fast 6 Creedmoor or 6mm or 243 or whatever you have out there, losing that barrel length does cost you performance. The exception there is if you're shooting some fairly anemic factory loads in 308, then you can run into diminishing returns fairly quickly beyond 20 inches with factory loads. But most guys, even shooting the tactical classes, are hand loading their ammunition. If you're hand loading 308s, you can still take advantage of a longer barrel. Longer barrel is going to give you more velocity with the same loads. That higher velocity is going to give you less wind drift, and less wind drift means a greater chance of that bullet impacting the target when wind conditions change during the firing process. So a longer barrel really is higher performance. The stock versus chassis argument, you can go with a very light stock. If you wanted to, you could go with a 26-inch Sendero barrel and still have a package that is light enough to move around, but you will now have to worry about being a little more careful when you thread it through ports in a barricade or thread it through tubes, etc. Being able to see your splash, offset, and fire the next shot really, really matters. And with these guns shooting off of barricades, very often you can still see your splash. Whereas with a really lightweight rifle, I see shooters that can struggle even in the prone position to keep the gun on target and watch their impacts, because there's a whole lot less weight up front. You can get some movement on that bipod, especially when we're talking about hunting style stocks that have a more severe drop at the comb. So you do gain a lot with the heavier rifles. You do gain a lot with longer barrel lengths, but really what it comes down to is what you enjoy. If you don't want to swing around this kind of rifle, then don't do it. Don't build up a 21-pound rifle if you know you like lighter rigs, because at the end of the day, it's about you enjoying shooting the match. So if you want to go out with a lightweight 20-inch 308, throw an efficient brake on it, get yourself some really good ear protection, and just know that you're going to have to work a little bit harder to make sure you're lined up behind that gun, and you're going to have to work a little bit harder to reacquire that sight picture once you fire. You're going to have a lot easier time going through tubes, going through barricades, and just carrying the rifle around all day than I will be with a 21-pound rifle. Now, if maximum points, if that's your goal, if winning the match is your goal, you're going to be handicapped shooting the more compact, lighter weight rifle. You're going to have to work harder. That's not to say that you can't win. It's just to say that you're going to have to work harder. And if you are of an equal skill level as another shooter who is shooting an open class rig like this, he is probably going to have a greater margin for error than you are. So that's kind of where it runs into it. Now, as far as an actual weight limit, where saying something like an 11-pound rifle is too light and a 25-pound rifle is too heavy, that is really all going to be down to your comfort level, what kind of equipment you like, and again, your physical fitness level. So if you are not so great on the physical fitness and you're up there in years, then maybe the lighter weight rifle is just going to allow you to enjoy going out there and shooting a whole lot more. If you're 52 years old and you're an avid weightlifter and you do triathlons and Ironman and all this stuff, you are probably going to carry this 21-pound rifle better than I can at 43 years old. So age doesn't have a whole lot to do in it. But your physical fitness routine and what your tolerance level really is. So I can't throw a number on it. For me personally, 21 pounds is really getting to the end of enjoyable for me. If I get much more than this, then it's just not enjoyable. Then I start thinking about carrying the rig around. Now, this rifle, I mainly shoot in competitions where the rifle stays grounded a lot. So you may have to move 100 yards, 200 yards at the most between firing points, and then you're going to set the gear down and you're going to ground it. This is not the rig that I would take to a tough man event where I'm going to be rucking for 5 or 6 miles between firing points. If that's the case, then I will sacrifice the stability of a rig like this, and I will go with a lighter weight system that is still very durable. So that's kind of the route that I went when I shot the Mammoth Sniper Challenge years ago. I actually went with a KRG Bravo chassis, or I take that back. I went with the KRG X-Ray chassis, which was a nice lightweight chassis. Still gave me all the chassis benefits, but removed a lot of weight from the overall rifle package. So that's my opinion, but as always in the show, I really want to hear what you guys have to think. So drop your comments in the comments section below or send it to us on Facebook or Twitter. Do you think that precision rifles are getting too heavy? Do you think 21 pounds is a little bit ridiculous? Do you prefer the heavy rifles, or do you prefer the light rifles? And where are you at on barrel length? Please, I love to hear your opinions. Drop it down below so we can continue this discussion down in the comments section. And that's it for this Mail Call Mondays. Thank you guys for watching. If you like the video, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you want to know more about how to support the videos that you guys know and love, please join us over on Patreon. We have a lot of great conversations over there, and it's a way to get a little bit of a behind the scenes and see what we're doing. I always ask for Mail Call Monday questions over on Patreon, so that is a really great place to get your questions in, and it helps me see what you guys are interested in a whole lot better than some of the stuff here or on Facebook. So check it out. We would love to have you over there on Patreon. And until next time, get out and shoot. And for those of you guys that stuck around all the way to the end, I have made a little bit of a change to this rifle here. Previously, I had a smaller SIG Tango 6 rifle scope on here. I've switched over to the 5-30 by 56 millimeter Tango 6 on this rifle. Mainly because this one has a mill turret and mill reticle. So the previous scope I was running was a Tango 6, but it had a MOA reticle and MOA turrets. And it was really, really difficult for me to get my brain wrapped around the graduations in the reticle. It's really interesting because I've argued for a very long time that it doesn't matter if you shoot an MOA scope or if you shoot a mill scope, as long as the turrets and the reticle match. But I have realized that I have gotten so used to mill scopes, specifically I've gotten so used to mill reticles, that switching over to an MOA reticle is difficult for me to look at the reticle and intuitively break down where I need to hold at different yard lines. So it's kind of a really interesting thing that I have discovered about myself. So I'll switch back over to the Tango 6. My buddy over at SIG Optics was kind enough to get this scope out to me. So we have it dropped in an MDT scope mount. And the really cool thing is the finish on the Tango 6 is this blue-gray finish, and it looks really great with the MDT ACC chassis. Aesthetics on a match rifle are usually the last thing I worry about, but it's nice when things just kind of line up this way. So that is the current state of this guy. Again, it's a Remington 700 with an IBI barrels, pre-fit barrel on here. And I absolutely love this gun. This continues to be my favorite match gun for the 2019 season, and will probably be my primary gun holding over into the 2020 season. The only thing is we're still running a Remington 700 receiver on here, and I will probably at some point swap that receiver out. But the barrel is working great, so I kind of really don't want to pull it apart until after I smoke out this barrel.